Trade talks are intensifying as we draw closer to the February 6th trade deadline. The Atlanta Hawks right now are up against the clock. We don't know who's going to be going. Of course, I've told you everybody that I think is on that list. Clint Capela, Bogdan Bogdanović, Larry Nance. You got even DeAndre Hunter has been on this list. At one point in time, Kobe Buffkin had been on this list. Listen, we do not know what to think and which way to go. And honestly, I feel as though Landry Fields and Coach Quin have to be getting something in order, because right now we want to know where this team can go. As this team stands right now, they're good enough to make the playoffs, let alone they can get in straight without having to go into the play-in tournament. Okay, they are good enough to do that, but sometimes they look as if they're shaky and almost like an inexperienced team. We don't know whether or not we want to just stick with the status quo or if we want to go further. I got to talk to you guys about a couple key scenarios that the Atlanta Hawks are facing, as well as I'm understanding how some of these different situations might pan out for some teams. Depending upon the Atlanta Hawks and how they play and how they win could implicate how another team drafts. I do notice that teams are able to sell off certain picks, and if a team wins, they take the pick, and if they fall under a certain level, they don't take the pick. So we'll get into that. We also got to talk about Trae Young again, because listen, I saw a stat that blew me out of the water. But first, before I go any further, what's going on? This is Atlanta Hawks Digest. My name is Walter Pollard. What's going on, everybody? Yes, I always want to start the show off just to set the scene and welcome everybody in, of course. Now, over the weekend, I wasn't able to, give you guys, well, I did talk to you guys over the weekend, but due to some technical difficulties, I missed the day. So I definitely want to get back into something, because over the weekend we got to talk about it. My man, the human highlight reel. Major shouts out to Dominique Wilkins. It was his birthday on Sunday. So again, major shouts out to Dominique Wilkins. And then too, listen, growing up, my dad used to always tell me about, what he used to do on the court and how he was such a great player. And, I mean, you can see it here, all the dunks. I mean, he was an emphatic dunker. You dig what I'm saying? And my dad even had a highlight tape where he would put it on, and it had cool music from the 80s. I mean, I loved it. Listen to some career stats from Dominique Wilkins. This is his time with the Atlanta Hawks. Yes, we do know that he was traded, and he went away, I think, to the Clippers and then to the Boston Celtics. So we do understand that, but let me just put out some stats for you really quickly. I think what he had 882 total games played for the Hawks, started 878, 46% shooting, career shooting for the Hawks, over 2,600 career assists for the Hawks, over 1,300 steals for Atlanta, specifically 1,378 steals for Atlanta, 2,677 as far as shooting. Career assists for Atlanta, 642 blocks for the Hawks. Overall points, he totaled at 23,292 total points for Atlanta, and he was the winner of the 85 and 1990 dunk contest. Major shouts out to the human highlight reel. Big shout out to him, man, and just, love to see that, happy to see that for him. Now, I looked over a stat, just doing my regular research or whatnot, and I looked and I saw that Trae Young, listen, not only is he's not overdoing it. I don't want to say he's overdoing it, but Trae Young, I mean, goodness gracious. We know that he has been an assist man, because he's always said that he's been an assist guy. He even corrected one of the guys at the 4-Letter Network that he was always assist man. But listen, he is going through the roof this year, okay? He's almost cleared the next closest guy, which is Tyrese Halliburton. The closest guy is Tyrese Halliburton, and he has only 353. Trae Young is at 434. That's almost 100 assists more than the closest guy. Major shout out to Trae Young. Hopefully the Hawks can keep doing it up, man. I love to see it, but I do want to talk about how I'm understanding how certain things can implicate certain players or certain teams and things of that such. And I just saw something as far as an article, and it shows how the Atlanta Hawks can actually win. And I mean, not just win, but win in the sense that they could even get some picks back. Okay, we already know that the Atlanta Hawks have dealt away their 2025, 2026, and 2027 first round draft picks. You dig what I'm saying? Like a lot of people got their hands in the Atlanta Hawks pockets, and that's somewhat due to the fact that we attempted to get a trade with DeJounte Murray and 2 years, and that didn't necessarily work out. So we understand it. Right now, the Kings are on a 7-game win streak, and as you see on the graphic, I pointed out that if the Kings win, the Atlanta Hawks win, and unfortunately, be that the Kings, they have moved up to the number 9 position. They are technically in the playoffs if they win the play-in tournament and things of that such. The only unfortunate part of that is the season doesn't end today. And we got a lot more that can happen, and things can change in a very short amount of time. So I do want to taper some of you guys' expectations. But for now, we have to get into it. I want to point out the implications as far as how Sacramento's winning can definitely affect the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Atlanta Hawks, they don't own the rights to their picks. We know that. You know what I'm saying? We know that. But they do own the right to the picks, to the Sacramento Kings pick for next year's draft, right? So they can kind of get something back if and only if the Sacramento Kings can finish in the top 12. Again, like I said, right now they're number 9 in the Western Conference. They're going into the play-in tournament if the season ended today. So with that being said, I definitely want to give a root for the Sacramento Kings. I even got an old school Sacramento Kings jersey. I'm aware if they can finish in the top 12. But what I'm saying is basically the Atlanta Hawks can possibly save themselves from basically a very bad situation if they can somehow, if the Kings can somehow win. If they win and end up in the top 12, the Atlanta Hawks will end up getting the pick or their first round pick, the Kings' first round pick in the 2025 NBA draft. So with that, I think it would be great. You dig what I'm saying? The Atlanta Hawks right now are a win now team. And then you get that with a lot of young talent. You know, Atlanta could rebuild, and winning would be great while they're doing that. You know what I'm saying? Winning could be great, at least getting into a position that can definitely make the Atlanta Hawks look good. Now, I got to point out the February 6th situation. You know, trade deadline, things are going to come to a screeching halt. You can't trade anybody away. You can't get anybody in. And again, I've pointed out that the Atlanta Hawks are in a situation where they can stick with who they got if that's what they want to do. They can stick with who they have and ride it out, you know, to see what they can come up with, or they can offload and trade some people away. You dig what I'm saying? And bring somebody in that can make, can make some change right now. I got a few trade scenarios that I've read across, I've looked at, and, like I said, the time is drawing closer, and I wanted to point out these few trade scenarios that might give you guys some type of inkling as to where the Atlanta Hawks are looking to go. So let's just jump right into it, okay? Like I said, the Atlanta Hawks right now come back home. They're playing against Phoenix. We got a road trip, but that's not what I'm trying to pull up right now. Let's start off with this one really quickly. We know that Larry Nance, unfortunately, he's out right now. He's injured. I think he had the surgery on the other side of 2024, and I think he's going to be reevaluated within the next day or so. So these scenarios are just that, scenarios. They're not necessarily a true situation or what we see or what could be, but I'm just pointing it out that this could be something. And again, the article that I did read gives out some grades as far as what we see here. Again, Larry Nance being traded to the Charlotte Hornets for Trae Jones. Trae Jones, of course, the young brother of Tyus Jones. Again, he's a young point guard. Will be a good addition to the Atlanta Hawks lineup due to the fact that Kobe Buffkin right now, he's out for the rest of the season dealing with his shoulder issue. Again, he's only 2 years in, and again, 2 years, he hadn't necessarily had the production that we would have hoped for him coming out of college. So again, the Atlanta Hawks, they need to bring somebody in to help Trae Young going further down the stretch. So this would be a a potential one. The article, of course, gives this trade a B. This would actually be a solid trade, though it might also be the most unlikely, given that the Spurs' interest in the Hawks losing. Now, again, I tell you how the some teams winning and some teams losing, it implicates other teams. So that just explains that. The next one that I wanted to point out, of course, was TJ McConnell and, again, Larry Nance Jr. And this situation would have just been a sign and trade deal. Again, this is more so, I would say, kind of even, if you will. But also with this being a sign and trade deal, the Hawks wouldn't be able to sign TJ McConnell, I would say, until about I think it's March or something like that. Or so that this just adds a little confusion, in my opinion. I got to do a little more research. But reading the article, it gives a grade of B. McConnell's competitiveness would mesh well with Bogey Bogdanović and the rest of the crew, Dyson Daniels and all the other guys. That is if the Hawks can convince the Pacers to take on Nance and his multi-year deal. Again, the good thing about Nance, and this is why he's showing up in all of these different trade scenarios, is that he has a dying contract. So a team can bring him in, let him finish out his contract, and at the end of the year, they can either shop him out again or give him another contract. You know what I'm saying? And that could be, however the team might work out. And let's not forget, Cody Zeller, I do believe, might be a trade piece for the Atlanta Hawks. If you notice, he hasn't shown up for the Atlanta Hawks at all this season. He's just consistently showing up on the injury report as not being with the team. So I do believe that these different trade scenarios might turn into packages. You dig what I'm saying? They might turn into packages. And then finally, this one is definitely interesting because this is again, Larry Nance for Tre Mann and Taj Gibson. Again, Taj Gibson, he's basically an add-on to it. But what's interesting about this trade particularly is because the Hawks are young, and this gentleman is young. You dig what I'm saying? He's only 23 years old. And Charlotte's not necessarily in the position to win now. So they could possibly say, hey, we're not in that position to win now. Maybe we trade him off for some picks. You know what I mean? Or maybe they could trade him off for something that could possibly get them into a better position later on. But, I mean, you add this 23-year-old. He's a former first-round pick. I mean, it's major upside in this trade. But one trade that I saw that was, I don't want to say bananas, because when I read up on the article on this particular one, it was kind of saying how it's not likely that this would happen. But if it is, the owner of this team would be very desperate. And, of course, that would be Devin Booker coming to the Atlanta Hawks for Bogey Bogdanović, Clint Capela, Cody Zeller. And then, get this, first-round picks from 25, 27, 29, 31, a 2026 swap and a 2020-30 swap. So, obviously, the Atlanta Hawks and the Suns already have two picks that are swapped, so they're going to re-swap it. It's a lot that can happen there. But the thing about it is, they say that the owner of the Suns is very aggressive. He could be very aggressive. So this could be something that could possibly happen. I don't know. I think because all of these different trade scenarios and trade talks is starting to get a little overwhelming, to my honest opinion, I feel as though you guys got to give me some more insight. I love the comments and the back and forth that I see going on in the comments. So definitely let me know in the comments, where do you see some of these trade scenarios coming from? What about yours? I think one that I saw earlier was for, Kessler. I think it's Kessler over in Utah. So, again, I saw how some of the fans are definitely calling out for certain people and certain guys to come to Atlanta. And then let's not forget tonight, the Atlanta Hawks will be taking on the Suns. This will be a chance for the Hawks to get their win back, of course, after going on their West Coast road trip. I mean, what was it? They 1-4 on their West Coast road trip. It was kind of tough to see that. But now, after an extensive break, let's just put it like that, after an extensive break for the Atlanta Hawks, due to the winter storm that was down here in Atlanta, the Hawks have had enough time to rest. Unfortunately, Jalen Johnson He's still out for tonight, so we're going to be without him. We're going to be without Larry Nance and Kobe Buffkin. Trae Young and Bogdan Bogdanović is questionable for this game. So, again, going into tonight's game, it's a lot. I'm not sure where we look as far as personnel going into this game versus the Suns, but the way I see it, Coach Quin Snyder has been doing a really good job in regards to getting the right people in place. Hopefully, DeAndre Hunter could definitely step up and show out for the Hawks. Let me just put it like that. Hopefully he can do that, and things will be great for tonight. But with all that being said, this is Atlanta Hawks Digest. My name is Walter Pollard, and I will see you guys later. Peace.